listening to the Straight to Video podcast with Rob Lane.
All right, hope you're all well out there, and thanks for checking out the Straight to Video podcast. What's new? Everybody good? So a few people have thrown interview suggestions my way over the course of the past year, asking why I don't do more newer bands, and the answer is pretty straightforward. It's freaking tough to do a long-form interview with bands or musicians with relatively short careers. Plus the fact that many of them will probably be considerably younger than me, and I don't want to sound like some old fart having no connection with the things they're talking about or into. So as much as I'd like to do that, I'm probably going to be sticking to musicians and people who've had careers for several decades or so, because I love diving into their history and experiences and then sharing those with you lot. Today's show is a little bit of an exception though, which you'll understand once we dive in. Today I'm checking in with singer-guitarist Peej Edwards from the band Punk Rock Factory, or from South Wales. Whilst the band have been together since 2014, they really blew up on social media and particularly the TikTok platform in the past year or so, when they kind of struck gold covering songs from Disney movies. Sounds a little nuts, right? But if you check out what they're doing, it's a whole host of fun. Massive fans of pop punk from the 90s and beyond, these guys add their own pop punk spin to classic tunes and have really created a killer brand and image that has earned them over 2 million likes and close to 400,000 followers on TikTok. And that's before we even get into the amount of streams on Spotify and the like. After releasing a full-length Disney pop-punk album called A Whole New Worst, which got them a place in the UK album download charts, Punk Rock Factory set to work on their next project, which is an album of purely cartoon and kids show themes from the late 80s and 90s. So those of you who know the stuff I'm into will realise I was all over this. Theme songs from the likes of Thundercats, Mask and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are just a few that are included, and the full album Masters of the Universe will be released on the 30th of July and can be pre-ordered direct from the band at punkrockfactory.com. Before we get into my fun chat with Peej, I want to remind you that this podcast now has its own Patreon page, where if you're a regular listener to the show and want to get that little bit more involved, please head on over to patreon.com/STVpod and find out how you can access a bonus podcast, early news on guests, exclusive merch, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Thank you to all who've already signed up, and I hope you're enjoying it. Also, our friends Dead Skull Coffee continue to support the show and are offering you, the listener, a great fat 15% discount off any order of their ground or full bean coffee. Simply head on over to deadskullcoffee.co.uk and add the promo code STV on checkout to grab that discount. Alright, here we go. It was very cool to check in with Peej from Punk Rock Factory, and I'm really excited to see where this cool project of theirs can go. Everything they do is of the highest quality, and it's all done totally DIY from their own studio. So after this chat, be sure to check out punkrockfactory.com or hunt them down on YouTube, TikTok or Instagram to really get a feel of what they're about. But right now, I hope you enjoy my straight to video talk with Peej from Punk Rock Factory.
Go, go, Power Rangers! Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all! It's you and me! Bucky, Captain Bucky O'Hare! Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle! And I say, hey, what a wonderful kind of day! Darkwing Duck, Gummy Bears, we're Animaniacs! Mask is the mighty power that can Flintstones meet the Flintstones! We're the Chipmunks! Report to the Goof Troop, and we'll always stick together. Thunder, 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 Thundercats!
I love everything you're doing, from creating and the whole vibe of the band. It's a ton of fun. Was that something you set out to do from the beginning, with it being solely pop punk cover versions and the whole in-house DIY cottage industry? Or has it grown organically?
We started and it was just a bit of fun. We were doing it maybe one evening a week, just a bit of fun. A mate of ours had a little studio, kind of went from there, put a couple of videos out and stuff, and didn't really do a lot with it. It was just a bit of a laugh. We'd all kind of got to a point where none of us were in bands anymore. And then we did nothing for about 3 years. We had some tracks recorded, and then life happened, and we worked with some other projects and stuff like that. And it all just kind of came back together, and it was crazy. Again, when we got back together, though, it was kind of every Monday evening we'd come here and we'd just do it on a Monday night. But then things kind of kicked off with TikTok. It was TikTok that kind of ignited everything, because we put the first album out, which was just a kind of amalgamation of songs that we kind of wanted to do, or some of them were the ones that we started 3 years previous. Yeah, TikTok just went bonkers.
For any reason? Can you put any clue on what it was?
We put a couple of bits up to test it, because that's one thing we're always doing, especially with social media and TikTok. We're constantly testing to see what works and what doesn't. We put a clip of Just Can't Wait to Be King on TikTok. It just went bonkers.
Everybody's phone's melting with the notifications.
Yeah, it was like 700k over a couple of days or something. So we were like, okay, Disney then. And then that was kind of what triggered us to do the Disney album. So we were like, well, people seem to love the Disney. So, and nobody had done a pop punk Disney album. People have done like little EPs and covered certain songs and stuff. No one had ever done a full Disney designated album. Do you know what I mean? So we thought we'd give it a punt, and yes, that was it then. It just went absolutely bonkers.
Any live shows prior to this?
No.
I bet you guys have been playing in bands for years, right?
Yeah, forever.
Like trying everything, all the promoting, all the slogging it out.
All in our mid-30s now. I mean, you know, we've all been in bands since we were 13, 14, just drilling it, playing live constantly.
Playing to fuck all people.
Exactly. Doing the toilet circuits and stuff. We've all been there. Like I said, this was just a bit of fun. This was just to entertain ourselves, if nothing else.
Well, they say that's a lot of the thing. Once you stop caring and just enjoying yourself, that's sometimes... A friend of mine had an album out one time called Ignorance is Bliss. He'd like done all the pushing and he put this album out. I didn't promote it or anything, he says, and it just connected with people all of a sudden and stuff started happening.
Well, that's it. Sometimes it just works, doesn't it?
You say you've all known each other for some time in previous bands.
Cobb, our drummer, Stead, guitarist, and Benj, a bassist, they were in a band together years ago. I knew Cobb because the band I was in, we used to play shows with his band. You know, we've all kind of known each other. It was only me and Stead that didn't actually know each other until sort of PRF started kicking off, to be honest. But other than that, we all had that kind of connection there.
So did you all kind of grow up in and around, is it Cwmbran?
Well, I'm in Cwmbran, which is where we're based now. Stead, he's from Caerphilly, and Benj is from Cardiff. Cobb was originally from Cardiff as well, but Cobb's moved to Cwmbran. This is kind of our home now. It's where the studio is, so this is where we work from, you know.
Just to throw things even further back, how was it for you growing up in South Wales? I've always loved that area and the people have always been great. I always enjoy going there.
I mean, it's a good place to live, man. As with everywhere, it's got its sketchy places, standard. But, you know, growing up, the South Wales music scene in the early 2000s was amazing. It was such a good music scene. Everyone was in a band. Everyone kind of knew each other. You know, there was bands with sort of varying degrees of success. I mean, you know, like Bullet for My Valentine came out of South Wales, Kids in Glass Houses. You know, there was a lot of bands that did pretty well for themselves from Cardiff, Caerphilly kind of area. So it was good growing up. You know, there was always a good music scene.
Was that the kind of music you gravitated to?
I kind of grew up on Nirvana. The first album I ever bought, I think I was about 9 or 10 years old, and I bought Nevermind on cassette from John Menzies. It's the first album I ever bought, and listened to Smells Like Teen Spirit on repeat about 10 times, and then realized there was more songs on it. You know, it just went from there, and then it was the sort of natural progression. Then it was Nirvana, and then it was Green Day and Blink, and then it just kind of escalated from there then. So yeah, all of us have been sort of grew from the same kind of place, really. Stead is more into his heavier side of things. He's a big Metallica fan, and so that's kind of where some of our more metal edges come from in some of the tracks, you know. But it's good. It's a good mix. It's a really good mix.
Was all your friends into the similar kind of stuff? When all the Green Day stuff kicked off, that was huge. And then I say like
massive.
7 or 8 years later when Blink-182 kind of blew up as well. So much happening. I mean, I'm a little bit older, so I relate to stuff a little bit before Nirvana, but you could see all those massive things, whether it be Britpop or grunge or the pop-punk thing.
It was wild because, I mean, me personally in school, it was like kind of my friend group. I went, have you heard of Nirvana? And then one of my mates would go, have you heard Green Day though? And then it was, have you heard Blink? Have you heard Lit? And then it was all these kind of bands that go in from there. And we were like, damn, proper into this. And then all of a sudden it just kind of spread and everyone was listening to them. And like back in those days, like me and my mates were doing the pirate CDs. People are like, oh, have you got the Green Day album? So we go and burn them a copy and sell them a copy with a photocopied cover on it. Do you know what I mean?
Selling them. You was already into like the DIY cottage industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So when did you get a chance to start going out to gigs? Did you have to travel far?
Not really. I mean, you know, Cardiff's a 15, 20-minute train ride from Cwmbran, and, you know, there was always shows on in like TJ's in Newport, which is literally just around the corner. There's some good places nearby, so, you know, going to gigs was always a fairly easy thing, you know.
What was the first gig you saw an advert for or thought, I want to go see that band?
I tell you, the first band I did see live, Radiohead. I think it was the Kid A tour, and they played in a giant marquee tent in Tredegar Park, massive blue tent thing. Sigur Rós supported them. And that was the first show I ever went to. And I was young then. That must have been 12, 13, something like that.
That's a pretty like arty, trippy kind of show to go to as your first gig.
It was really odd. I was out of my depth, to be honest, at that age. Like, I'd never heard of Sigur Rós. You got the lead singer singing and playing guitar with a violin bow. Like, it was baffling at that age.
So when did you decide to make the jump from being just a fan to wanting to try to play music? Because you're originally a bass player, right?
Yeah, always been a bass player. I remember the moment it happened, it was weird because I kind of always wanted to play guitar. The turning point for me was Back to the Future, the Johnny B. Good scene on Back to the Future. Like, I'd watch that shit on repeat. Like, I fucking loved it. I'd watch that all the time as a kid, 5, 6. From that age, I was Back to the Future. I know the films word for word even now. And it was just as I started in comprehensive school, so I would have been 11, and I kind of wanted a guitar for Christmas. I remember being sat in a music lesson, and my music teacher, he was an absolute legend. He came up behind me, and I was talking to my mate. I was like, I don't know whether to get a PlayStation or a guitar for Christmas. And he leant over my shoulder and he went, get yourself a bass guitar. Don't bother with a PlayStation. And that was it. That Christmas then, out of my first bass, it was a shitty red and white P bass, cheapy thing.
Did you even know what a bass was, though?
I did. I knew what it was. I didn't have that much interest in it. I thought, I'll give it a blast. And I just never put the thing down. Just absolutely loved it. And then I played in a couple of bands in school. And as you get older, you just kind of follow on. But I became a singer completely by accident. It was just by default, to be honest. We needed a singer and I started singing. That was kind of it, really.
People are like, this sounds pretty good, dude.
Yeah. The band that I was in at the time, the singer, our drummer left, but our singer was also a drummer. So he went on drums and then I ended up taking over on vocals, and it just kind of went from there then.
It was just the only way to get a full band lineup, right? We need a drummer who can adapt and survive.
Your singer can't be the drummer. Do you know what I mean? We're not Fleetwood Mac.
It's tough. It's tough. I know a few bands where it works, but
yeah,
it is a tough one.
Yeah.
So to bring things a little bit more up to date, because you guys did a cover of Kiss covered it as well, but God Gave Rock and Roll to You, and you guys did it as well, yeah. Was that in like the early days of Punk Rock Factory?
Yeah, the first few tracks we put out, we did a cover of 4 5 Seconds, which was that Rihanna and Paul McCartney track with Kanye West. That was the first one we ever did. Then we did Taylor Swift's Blank Space. We did Sam Smith, Stay With Me. And then Cobb, our drummer, massive Kiss fan, huge Kiss fan. So we did God Gave then as well. And that was the last video we put out before we kind of just ground to a halt.
But that got a pretty good response though, didn't it? Didn't Gene Simmons retweet it or something?
Yeah, that was a pretty mental night, yeah. We put it up and within about 3/4 of an hour, Gene Simmons had retweeted it, calling it fantastic. Of course, Cobb, who's like the biggest Kiss fan, he just melted because we were all chatting and he was on Facebook on his laptop or on his PC or something, and he just went silent. And then the next thing we know, his missus is typing saying Cobb's just had a breakdown and ripped all the keys off his keyboard. He just literally gripped his keyboard and just pulled a load of buttons off it. So you just had an absolute breakdown because Gene Simmons had seen it and liked it.
So was there anything after that? Did it kind of open up any other doors?
No, it didn't. It didn't do anything, to be honest. We did play one show at a venue near us. They always used to do a Stars in Their Eyes thing. They used to do it twice a year. They do one in the summer and then one at Christmas. We decided to do it, the one, it was in the June, it was in the summer. And we were going to do Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, which is essentially what we did. They took pop songs and made them punk. That's when we brought Stead in, because Stead wasn't in the original. So we brought Stead in because we needed the extra guitarist for live. We recorded a handful of tracks with Stead and then never did anything with them. And that was off some of the ones off the first album. That was Breathless, the Cause track, Mbop, Hand in My Pocket, the Alanis Morissette one. So we did those with Stead, and then they never saw the light of day for best part of 3 years. Then we kind of caught our momentum again because we all missed doing it because it was just such a laugh. Do you know what I mean? So then we decided to chuck them together. We re-recorded them then, chucked them on an album with the rest of them.
Was that album just released digitally?
It was, yeah, just digitally at that point. Because to be honest, even with the Disney album, we didn't plan on releasing that physically because we didn't know if it was going to work. Up until that Disney album came out, nobody knew who we were. Nobody really cared. But then obviously, while we were recording the Disney album, we kind of gathered traction with the guests and stuff, kind of escalated from there. But then we still didn't know. We were like, is this album going to come out and no one's going to give a shit?
Because, I mean, you're in like kind of, I've done cover versions before, and I know you're more than familiar with like the whole licensing stuff. So there's two sides of the licensing. There's the whole digital side of it, and then there's the physical side of it as well. And it's a big outlay.
It is. And that was what we didn't want to do to start with. Like, we needed to see see that people wanted that album before we were going to take the plunge and go down the licensing route for physicals. And it was bonkers. That album came out and blew us away. Like, we did not expect it to go the way it did. It was absolutely mental. Like, watching the streams on Spotify, you can kind of see them every day. From the day before, it went from 50,000 streams in a day to 60, 70 to 80 to 90 odd thousand streams in one day. And we were just like, what is going on? Like, this is absolutely bonkers.
And I guess this is all organic as well, right? Because you've not got like a machine pushing behind you or anything like that.
No, nothing. I mean, Cobb, our drummer, he's very skilled in the kind of marketing side of things. You know, we do run some marketing and stuff. But again, it's all DIY stuff. We don't give it to anyone to market. There's no label, there's no funding, there's nothing behind it.
I love it.
It's all done ourselves. Every video that you see is made by Cobb and his partner Beck. All our photos are done by Beck. All the recordings done here. Benj, our bassist, does all the mixing. We don't use anyone.
Who does your artwork, though? Because your artwork is stunning, dude.
Cobb's missus.
She does all the caricatures and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, man.
Shit, man.
Yeah. Like, we don't need anyone.
Wow.
It's bonkers, like.
Looking at everything, because I knew you did all like the recording in-house and stuff like that, and I figured you perhaps did the videos yourself, but I thought the artwork's got to be sourced from some like...
Oh, no. The only thing we have done is the new video that's coming out, first video that's being released with the album now on the 30th, video for Power Rangers. We have gone out and we used a film studio in Birmingham to film that, and we did bring one person in that Cobb knows to do the filming for that. But other than that, that's all we've ever done.
Superb. So when did it become a realization for you guys that you could do this stuff? Because you're doing it full time now, right?
Yeah. Originally, the original plan was Cobb's self-employed, does all his own, he does all the marketing stuff. Me and Stead were working and Benj were all working. We were going to reduce our hours to maybe part-time, to maybe do this for a couple of days a week and obviously work for the rest of the week. And bit of a blessing in disguise, really, as Stead was working for the DWP. They wouldn't let him go part-time. It was all or nothing. He either stayed or he went. So it kind of forced our hand, really. So we kind of sat back and thought, can we afford to do this? And we thought, you know what, fuck it. So we all quit our jobs. And yeah, man, we're all good, like all good.
All the power to you, mate. Was it daunting? Was it?
Yeah.
Was it a few
terribly.
sweaty, sleepless nights? Because you're a dad, aren't you? You've got two kids.
I got two kids. Stead, he's got a stepdaughter. So yeah, it was a little bit terrifying, to be honest.
But as exciting as hell.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, up until last year, me and Benj were self-employed. Me and Benj were working out of a studio, so we were kind of used to being out of our comfort zone and not being employed as such and being self-employed. So it wasn't quite as big a jump for me and Benj as it was for Stead, who'd been working at the DWP for 15 years, and just all of a sudden we were like, "You got to quit your job, bro." Yeah, it's wild.
Do you keep yourselves busy all the time?
Oh, constantly. We're here every day, every single day. We usually assemble here about normal working day. We're all here for about 9ish in the morning. We'll sit round, we'll have a coffee for a bit. Up until about a month ago, we were tracking every day and getting the new album sorted. And, we're constantly working on things, but we're kind of in live rehearsal mode now. Everything's kind of set and we've got everything ready for the album to come out. And we're kind of in the middle of making some videos and doing all that. But other than that, we are just rehearsing every single day now, Monday to Friday, every day.
You're going to be well oiled, dude.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Problem is the thing is we're all perfectionists. We won't put anything out that isn't perfect. So, the album, we agonize over every tiny detail. Every single detail needs to be perfect. We'll redo things until we're happy. And it's the same with live. We're in the middle of building the set out now and building interludes and intros into songs, and then songs that go into different songs and stuff. We got Back to the Future going into Jurassic Park, going into Thundercats. And do you know what I mean? It's going to be insane.
So your new album, Masters of the Universe, I believe was originally planned as a TV themes, but then it became more focused on the whole Saturday morning cartoons and kids shows.
Yeah, that was the plan. Originally, it was going to be as broad as TV themes. It was going to have things like Big Bang Theory and Friends and stuff like that on it. But, we ended up down this, like I said, Saturday morning TV, stuff you remember from the late 80s, early 90s. You'd get up in the morning, you'd be sat downstairs with your bowl of cereal and you'd watch Live and Kicking or Going Live, and it was everything that was on there. So it's purely nostalgia. I mean, we had such a massive following from the Disney album where it was guys our age with kids and we're like, oh my God, I love punk rock and my kids love this, which means that I can listen to it, which is brilliant. So now, do you know what? All the parents that have to listen to the fucking Disney stuff, they're getting their payoff now. Do you know what I mean? This is the stuff that the parents will want to hear. The kids won't know anything on the album. But, you know, the mums and the dads that were into the Disney album, this is for them.
And the timing couldn't be better, what, with the new version of the Master of the Universe coming out. I think that's this month as well.
Yeah, it comes out pretty much like the week before, but we didn't know. That was a complete accident. Like, we actually only found out about that. A friend of mine shared a trailer for it on Facebook about 3-4 weeks ago. It was like unbelievable timing. We had no idea, absolutely no idea whatsoever. And then we delved a bit deeper then, and we discovered that some of the other songs that we've got on the album are also having new remakes made. So we were like, ooh, that's worked out quite well.
Some of the songs you've chose, they're a little bit after my time, but you have included Mask, which is my all-time favourite theme tune.
Yeah, amazing. Do you know what? I'm glad you've said Mask, man, because to be honest with you, it was a little bit before our time. It wasn't going to be on the album. We didn't know it, but we got a couple of our mates, only even just a couple of years older than us, that you've got to do Mask. You've got to do Mask. We're like, what is Mask? Like, we listened to the theme tune and stuff. We're like, that is an absolute tune. That is such a tune.
And it is pretty much a full song as well.
Yeah. Yeah, do you know what? It's actually ended up being one of our favourites on the album. It's an absolute tune. So good. Love it.
Did you go down any rabbit holes? Because one of my other favourites is one, Jason the Wheeled Warriors.
Do you know what? Some people have suggested that on socials, actually, but I don't think we ever looked at it. Biker Mice from Mars was something that people wanted as well, but there was nothing to it, really. We couldn't make anything out of it. Weird. Yeah, it's a bit of an odd one.
Raccoons.
The Raccoons, yeah. That was suggested as well.
It's like a random song that's got nothing to do with the cartoon whatsoever.
Yeah, yeah.
Was there any you came across which were either new to you or you'd totally forgotten about? Like, holy shit, I forgot all about this, forgot how good this song was.
Denver, The Last Dinosaur.
See, I've never heard that one.
Have you not?
No.
When it was mentioned to us, we all kind of remembered it and watching it back like, damn, yeah, I remember this. Do remember it. The theme tune was amazing. Like late 80s, early 90s, they nailed theme tunes. Like they were proper tunes, like really, really good.
Which is your personal favourite? Is that your favourite or the Mask song?
Mask is amazing. I do love Mask. There's so many though. There's so many. The opening track, Thundercats, like it's so good. We love Thundercats. Like there's so many like little ones, like things that you don't even think. Like we've done Funhouse.
That's a bit random.
It's 46 seconds long, the whole thing, but it's banging. Like it's so good.
Was you ever like tempted to extend them and make them into almost a full song?
Well, some of them we have. Some of them have got solo sections that were in there before. You know, we've doubled up choruses at the ends of some of them just to make them a bit longer. But yeah, Gummy Bears, which is actually a Disney one. The Disney album was hard work at points because, for example, Do You Want to Build a Snowman? It's 1.5 minutes long and it changes key 3 times in that entire song. There's 3 key changes in it. Gummy Bears, which is Disney again, you know, we were like, oh, Gummy Bears is an absolute tune. Everyone knows Gummy Bears, right? But it's not until you start delving into it that I think it changes key 5 or 6 times.
Songs for kids written by like the most talented, technically minded musicians out there.
Exactly. You know, it's musical theatre stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy. Gummy Bears, there's a solo section in it. The key changes 3 times in the solo section. Absolutely baffling on some of the stuff, man.
What do your kids think of it? Are they into it or are they like not bothered?
They love it. I mean, my boy, he's just coming up 11 now. He's getting to the age now where he's a little bit too cool for it. He pretends like he doesn't care. My daughter, though, she's only just turned 9. She absolutely loves it. Like every time we get in the car, put some of your songs on. My boy, he'll sit there and enjoy it, but he won't ask for it. He's getting too cool for that stuff.
You're going to be invited to doing like kids' Christmas concerts at some point. That's a whole other market you can channel, man.
I know. Do you know what? The amount of people that message us on socials asking, can you play my wedding? Can you play my kid's birthday party? And we're like, no. We're not a wedding band. Like, that's not what we're doing. That's not what we're doing.
Because of the way the band operates and the catalogue of tunes you play, you've said you can potentially put out several albums each year.
Yeah, I mean, that's the plan.
Yeah, I would imagine movie soundtrack tunes would be on the table, especially if you say you're a fan of like Back to the Future and stuff.
Yeah, that is one that will happen. That is going to happen. You know, the first album was very much thrown together. Originally, the first album was going to be like that's what I call the 90s kind of vibe. There was a couple of other ones on there, but yeah, that was kind of where that ended up going. Disney was obviously the first themed album we did, and now, you know, sort of Saturday morning TV for this one. So yeah, the themed album thing will be an ongoing theme. We're going to come away from TV and stuff for the next one, I think, after Masters of the Universe, just to do some real songs for the next one rather than themes or anything. And we are talking about doing a noughties album being thrown around, be all sorts of stuff on there, boy band stuff and Girls Aloud and things like that. We'll experiment with a few things. But yeah, definitely the movie themes is one that we're busting to do.
You tackle Man in Motion from St. Elmo's Fire.
Yeah.
Kudos for stepping up on the vocal on that one, because that is like a deceiving vocal.
It is. You're spot on with that. It was when you start singing, it's really low, growing up, and all of a sudden that chorus, it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
So what's the plan, just kind of in closing, what's the plan once this new album comes out with shows?
So we have a tour ready, headline tour, November, December, UK wide. Looks like we're going to be doing, I think it's around about 16, 17 shows over 3 weeks at the end of the year. So yeah, that's going to be our first headline tour. Our agent is on it. I think the boys might be on the phone to him now, actually, because we were waiting for a phone call from him. They were just getting the last 1 or 2 shows confirmed for that. As soon as that's all fixed, now we're going to announce the tour. Fingers crossed, the tickets will go on sale the same day that the album comes out.
Oh, nice one, man. It's all coming together. That's exciting.
Yeah, man. Yeah, buzzing. Like.
How long's the set going to be, though? Is it going to be like 20 songs in like 15 minutes or something? Because you got to figure all that out.
Do you know what, right? That's the thing. We've started building out a set, and so far we've got 13 songs, and it's about 40 minutes long. And that's 13 songs. Obviously, as a headline slot, we're going to be played for at least an hour, really. There's going to be so many songs. So many. But luckily, I mean, obviously, the new album is 21 tracks long. The Disney album was 12, and then the first album was 10. So we got plenty to choose from. And like I said, we're adding extra bits in. We're dipping into other TV or films, like tagged on to the ends of little outros for the songs. There'll be a lot to it. We got big plans.
Superb. I look forward to it, because I say everything about the band is great. You do it so well. It looks amazing, and there's just so much fun behind it all. So yeah, I look forward to seeing you doing some shows at some point.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Well, I'll let you get back to everybody else, but I appreciate you taking some time to talk to us.
No problem at all, brother. Legend.
Alrighty.
Take it easy, brother.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.
Ta-da, man.
Big thank you to Peej Edwards of Punk Rock Factory for spending some time with us here on the Straight to Video podcast. It was very cool to connect, and for those of you who are liking what they're into, please be sure to check out their new album, Masters of the Universe, which is released on the 30th of July, with physical copies including CD, cassette and vinyl are all available to pre-order from punkrockfactory.com. If you want to check out more than 100 episodes of this podcast, then those, along with some straight-to-video music, videos and merch, are all available at stvpod.com, and our Patreon page, where you can get all behind the scenes of the podcast, can be found at patreon.com/stvpod. Really want to thank you all for your amazing continued support of the show, and it feels like things are really starting to grow, and you are all a big part of that, so thank you so much. But until next time we chat, look after yourselves, and we'll speak again real soon.